Okay, so I've got my wedge clay already, and I've kind of formed it into a ball. So I kind of just smacked it. So you're gonna need a bucket of water that's about halfway full or a little bit less. You're gonna need a sponge. You're gonna need a wooden rib. Never use a metal rib on this. It's only the wooden rib. If you do metal on metal, you have a bad day. And really. So I'm gonna start off by wetting my sponge, and I'm just gonna put a little water on here on the wheel to give it a soak so it sticks really nice. So I'm gonna take my clay and I'm gonna whack it out into the middle. And you want to kind of center it as well as you can. So the pedal is like a pedal in a car. If you lean forward, it'll go fast. If you back it off, it'll go slow. So you can vary the speeds however fast or slow you want. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to center the clay. Now, you'll feel it where it's going to go wagga, 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 wagga. So you want to get it nice and tight. So the way that you do that is you bury your elbow into your hips. So this gets a little messy. So you don't want to put a lot of water on it because the clay will soak up the water. But you want to keep enough water on here that it keeps sliding in your hands. So I'm going to take a little bit of this sponge and I'm going to add a little water to this. Now you're going to use that butterfly technique again. So this is the strong part of your hand. So this is going to push down and in. So I'm going to get this going and I'm going to bury my elbow into my hip because if you have your arms up like this, your arms will move around like this. So your hip is actually doing the steering. So I'm going to add a little bit more water to that. So I'm going to push down and in. And you'll feel it. Like once you get it centered, you'll start feeling the the clay will stop wobbling around in your hands as much, and um, it'll become centered. So you can see where in my hands where I'm using this bottom part to push in, and this is pushing down. So this is pretty centered now. So I'm wiping off my hands, but I'm only adding as much water as I need to keep this slick. I'm not adding a ton. If you add too much water, it'll get floppy. It'll get gross. So you just want to add a little bit of water at a time. And if you have extra water, you can go in with your sponge and clean this up. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your thumbs and you're going to tilt it in and push down. Now this is a sensitivity thing. Clay is all about sensitive. You being sensitive. You're feeling how deep and how wide things are. And the throwing wheel is one of the most sensitive types of clay forms. So I'm going to wet my hands a little bit and I'm going to dive my thumbs down into the middle until there's about this much space from the bottom. So I'm going to just take this and I'm going to start pressing in like this. So now I have a big hole. Next, you're going to be forming the clay. So your strong fingers are these two center fingers. So what you're doing is you're feeling on the inside and you're pulling up. You're actually having a little bit, and it's easier to do a little bit at a time than try to pull up the whole thing. Like people that are professionals, they can grab a ton of clay and then pull it up. I want you to just take little parts at a time. The thing is, you need to make a balance between your fingers and your hand. So the hand balances the outside, the inside fingers are doing the pushing. If you do not have this balance, you'll stab through. So you need to have this balance of right here, and you need to feel how close your fingers are to your hand. So I'm going to get my hands wet, and I'm going to start pressing in. And what I like to do is I like to wrap my thumb around here so I can press like this. So I'm going to press in, and then I'm going to start pulling upward. One stroke at a time. I'm pressing in, and I'm pulling up. And you'll start feeling lips happen sometimes. If that happens, just go in and start smoothing it out until it feels like it's back in the center. And I don't like a lot of water in the middle of my clay because it gets really wonky. So I'll just dip it in with the sponge and pull that out. So you're working on getting the thickness correct first. So I'm pushing in here, pulling it out, trying to get all the thickness nice and even. And sometimes this requires you to go up and down a few times. So it gets right where you want it. So you're basically going to keep doing this back and forth until you get the desired shape or size that you want. If by chance it starts getting wonky, you can always reset it by just shoving it all back in the middle, recentering it, and then starting up again. Okay? So you are going to make one pot that's at least 4 inches tall, and make sure that you are still at the right size. It still needs to be a 1/2 inch thick or thinner to survive being fired. Okay? So this is the basics of throwing a pot. So when you're done, you stop it, you take the wire loop tool, and then you get it going just a little bit, not very far or not very fast, and then you're going to pull the wire loop or wire tool across like this. And this is going to allow you to scoop it off and take it off. Then to clean it, you're going to take your rib tool, get this going, and then you're just going to scrape towards the center. So that cleans that up. And then you're going to take your sponge, give it a good wipe. So all the clay is relatively cleaned off. Then you're going to take the basin. The big side always goes towards you. The little side goes to the other side. So you're just going to push down and out. This side comes off, and then you slide this off, and then you go walk. If there's extra clay, make sure you wipe it off into the bucket first. And then you put them on just like that. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and your attention. Do more, do better.